Hello and welcome back. In today's video, I have returned from a break of around 3 months off YouTube. I have been doing a lot of things that meant that I couldn't have uploaded. I probably won't explain them in this video, but all you need to know now is that I am back uploading, hopefully regularly, with slightly different content, but also keeping along the same sort of theme, which will be uploading this kind of Bannerlord video where I'm looking at the dev blogs that interest me, as well as other Bannerlord information that comes out. I'll obviously be doing Warband, as you saw in the intro. I'll be doing some Persistent World at some point. I'll also be doing a lot of Hearts of Iron, because that's my new favourite game. It's a game that I really enjoy playing, and I think a video actually did really well on that just before I stopped YouTube. It got around 120,000 views, so if you've never played Hearts of Iron, I definitely recommend you go ahead and check that out. Anyway guys, I think it's time we mark my return with the first dev blog that I have looked at in a long time. Well, obviously I've been looking at them while I've been away, however I haven't read up on them as much as I should have, and I haven't been making videos on them. So let's take a look at the latest blog that Tailworlds have uploaded. So this blog is a Q&A with Cornel Guns, who works on the multiplayer for most of his time at Tailworlds. So his job role basically entails him working on multiplayer features, including optimizations and bug fixes that they find in playtests, and he actually spends a lot of his time preparing the internal playtests and monitoring the sessions, gathering feedback from the participants and planning the next test. So this guy has a whole lot of experience in playing Bannerlord. He's going to know what is what, because he's the guy that's actually organizing these playtests and then also getting all the feedback from these playtests, so he can report back to, I presume, the head of Tailworlds, so that he can decide, because we know he's very particular about what goes into the game, so he can decide what they're going to improve afterwards. I think this blog is particularly interesting just because of how much experience this guy has in the game. So I'm actually going to go through each question that is asked, because he might come up with some information that is quite interesting. So the next most important question, I would say, is, will multiplayer be linked with Steam for inviting friends? He replies with, we have a full Steam integration, so you'll easily be able to join friends' games or invite them to your party. Now that is something that I was very happy to read, because we know in Warband it hasn't got the biggest multiplayer player base. Of course, it is still fairly big, but you can join a server with friends, meet up with them, because the server's not going to be full, and you know, you can have a good time. But we now know with Bannerlord that the player base is going to be huge, and there's going to be so many people playing it that you're going to want to join a server with your friends really easily. And obviously you're going to be able to want to do that like as smoothly as possible, and the best way to do that is through Steam. The next question reads, will we still be able to choose what server we join, or will it be picked for us? He replies with, we still have the server list, just like we have in Warband. It will contain both official and unofficial, in brackets, community run servers. On top of that, there is also a matchmaking system, which ties in nicely with our more competitive game modes. I do like the idea of keeping the server list, because you can kind of go through the server, see how many people are playing, and then decide if you want to join or not, because obviously you don't want to be put through matchmaking where you'll join a server where there's no one, but there's not that many people playing. It's quite a nice idea to keep that Warband server list theme going. Now the matchmaking system seems to be sort of ranked, so I'm not really sure how exactly this is going to work, but I imagine depending on your skill, depends in what server you're placed in, again depending on the amount of players that are online, I assume. I would like to just take a moment away from Bannerlord for a second and just say that the clips that you're seeing during this video are from Persistent World. Now, I have a clan in Persistent World called Byzantium, which my friends run and that I'm a part of. My friends will be featured in a lot of other videos in the future, so if you want to get involved in that community, play some Mount and Blade for fun, kind of play some Persistent World, do some pretty cool sieges. The mods changed quite a bit, and it's quite a lot of fun now, so go ahead into the link in the description where you'll find a link to our website where you can apply, and if you don't know what Persistent World is, Google it, because that's the best thing you can do, because I don't want to explain it too much. Anyway, on with the Bannerlord news. The next question reads, what kind of game modes can we expect? It reads, Siege has received a full overhaul. It is still all about attacking and defending an entire castle, but now with a full range of different kinds of siege weapons. Ballista, catapults, siege towers and battering rams. Now reading that, it doesn't sound too much different from what we have in multiplayer anyway. Now we do have modded servers that have catapults and lots of like other things like ballistas, like they mentioned just then, in native warband, that are all compatible with native warband, so it's not going to be too much different in terms of the actual attacking. However, what will be different is how you use those catapults and ballista, etc., because there'll probably be more of them. They'll also have a much easier like aiming system, as well as basically making it a lot easier, so you have to probably work as a team in order to make these work, instead of just having one person kind of trolling around the back like you do in today's warband. So that'll be really interesting to see how battering rams and things can be destroyed, and how siege towers can be destroyed as well, and how effective each one is. He then continues to say that there are some game modes that are entirely new, such as the Captain Battle, which is a team-based mode where each player gets command over a regiment of AI troops, just like in single player, and you'll win by either eliminating the other team or controlling the battlefield. Now this looks like a much more developed version of Commander Battles in Napoleonic Wars, obviously with the medieval time period, or the medieval time period in Calradia, you know what I mean. But it looks like there's going to be a few more objectives that you have to do. We saw a video showcasing this where they showed actually flag and capture points. But I imagine the main way that people are going to be winning this is either by holding capture points or just killing everyone else, which is probably the method that everyone else will be using. He then says there is also a skirmish battle, which is a more competitive game mode that is designed to be played 6 versus 6. You'll have multiple lives per round, but each troop has a different cost, which means you have to make a choice between fielding a greater number of poorly equipped troops or a few number of specialized ones. Good communication and managing your lives are key in this mode. Now, I think this is the one that was actually showcased, because it's a 6 versus 6, and I think that this will be really fun, especially for maybe the competitive scene. This will be something a little bit different, but then again, in the competitive scene, they probably don't want to be relying on AI. They want to be relying on themselves. And also, it depends how good the AI is. We've seen a lot of demonstrations of how good the AI can be, but we've also seen a few demonstrations where the AI hasn't been brilliant. He then goes on to say, we also have a duel mode for those who want to test their skills in a more controlled environment. Now, that's nothing too different. I imagine it will run pretty much the same. Maybe there'll be some like competition ranked things. I'm not really sure, but that would be really interesting. The most interesting and final question reads, how do you plan to prevent camping? He then says, the solutions to prevent camping are different for many games. For us, we realised it's a serious issue, and we have designed our new game modes so that they make camping a bad choice. Now, before I continue, I'd like to say, in Warband, I never really found camping was that much of an issue. Like, I guess with camping archers, that is an issue, but camping infantry, unless you're on, like, Persistent World or a mod, it didn't really happen because there just wasn't, like, that, because you could just get grouped up on and taken out, and camping as infantry is not really that effective, but camping as archers, that is extremely annoying, because they just will stay in a place where you can pretty much not hit them, and they'll also just be spamming out arrows, especially in multiplayer. Maybe you're playing as the Rodoks, which don't have very good armor, and you're very susceptible to those camping people, and it's very aggravating. And also, we know how annoyed infantry can get at archers because it stops them from getting into those really good melee fights, and they're also, but you know, archers are also very good, but I think it's the balancing factor that we need to see in Bannerlord. So he continues to say, For the skirmish and captain battles, you have to be active and either fight the enemy or move to different locations on the battlefield to control them. It's also not enough to just move one location and hold it. You'll have to constantly be encouraged to move and adapt until the very end of each round. We've noticed in our internal playtest that this is working out very well. So basically what he's saying is that there's lots of different objectives across the map where there are little flags which you have to capture, and you're basically forced to capture these flags and move around the map. Now, that will be, where those flags are is where all the fighting will be focused at, because that's the objective. Now, that will force archers to move around and not stay in the same place, and I can definitely see that working for that particular game mode, which will be captain battles and skirmishes. However, I can't see this really working for sieges and other game modes, because they're just going to stay in the same place. Again, that's a very hard thing to do, because in sieges, there's a little bit more of an excuse, as that's what basically castles are for. They're there to defend the defenders, and they're there to make it a very easy job for the defenders to kill the attackers. That's why they exist. But balancing is also a major factor in the castle designs. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I want to talk about for this blog. And I'm actually really enjoying getting back into talking about Bannerlord. Now, I would like to say that I'm not going to be frequently uploading Bannerlord. I'm not going to be there spamming out videos as much as I used to. I think I'll make videos on the developer blogs that interest me, and this was one that particularly interests me because it's about multiplayer, and as you guys know, I'm not so much of a single player person. I prefer multiplayer. Anyway guys, it feels amazing to be back. I will give you an explanation at some point to why I was away. It was pretty much something out of my control, and I'm very sorry for disappearing off-grid for about 3 months, so hopefully you can forgive me. I know my channel will take a long time to kind of get back to where it was, but I believe we can get there. There's a lot of content coming. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have an absolutely brilliant day, and I will see you in the next battle.
Sing the song for a broken hearted.